Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'll be taking you through Xcode, which we'll use to create iOS applications. So in the previous video, I talked about iOS development, the Swift language, what are the developer requirements to get started. And in this video, let's explore Xcode together. So as mentioned earlier in the previous video, you can download Xcode from the App Store. It's quite a big size application. So make sure you have enough space and you have a good connection while downloading it. Yeah, once that's done, just open up the Xcode, and initially it may ask you to install some components, but once you do that, you should be able to look into this screen. Xcode is a version 12.4. So in this screen, you can see that we can create a new Xcode project. We can clone an existing project from Git, or we can open an existing project that's in our Mac. So let's get started with creating a new project. So once you create a project, you'll get the option to choose a template. So earlier there wasn't this multi-platform functionality, but now if you select this, you'll be able to create a single code base for both iOS and macOS application. So these are the different templates. If you want to create your application from scratch, then you can just select this option. So this is what I usually do. Now you'll see an option screen for a new project. You just need to fill the product name. Product name is basically the name of your app. You can set it as you like. And under the theme, you can connect your Apple account. You can ignore it at this time, but later you can add it whenever you want. Organizer identifier is something that you set with your domain name in reverse. So since URLs are unique, it will ensure that no one else will have your identifier. If you don't have a domain, then you can just use your name. In the bundle identifier, when you create a new project, Apple will combine your product name with your organizer identifier to create your unique bundle ID. So even if thousands of people they create this project, each person will have a different bundle ID. And just to let you know that this is something that you can edit as well before you upload your app in the App Store. So you can choose the interface as a storyboard and select the language as Swift. So these are the checkbox that you can check and uncheck depending on your requirement, because these can always be edited later as well. So I'll keep it like this and move to the next step. So once you open the project, this is the screen that you'll see. The leftmost side is the Navigator area and the rightmost is the utility area. In the middle, we call it an editor area, and at the top there's toolbars that we'll use frequently to run our project. So let's get started with the Project Navigator. So the Project Navigator is where you'll see all the files associated with your profiles. This is the default tab you'll see when you create a brand new project. And you get to organize your files in these areas, so you can create groups to organize your files in. So think of them like folders. You can create a new group and drag your files into them, or you can create a new files as well. You can just right click on the Project Navigator and create new files, or add any existing files to your project by dragging it directly from your Mac into here. So when you create a new file, you'll get an option. You'll get this pop-up dialog box asking how you want to add the files. So you can select any of the files as seen here. And in this editor area, you can edit the general setting of your project, like your bundle ID, version, build number, and what is the target information for your deployment, what iOS version are you targeting, and what is the device orientation that you want. So all these things can be edited in this area. So this is something that you'll mostly use for your build setting, your build phases, and other signing and capabilities. So this is the default storyboard. As the main.storyboard here, you'll be able to add any view controllers. One thing that you should keep in mind is this arrow indicate that this is an initial view controller. So if you're a beginner and you create any new view controller, and if you miss this arrow, then maybe you'll get into an error and you may get stuck. So just letting you know that whenever you create a project and you want that screen to be your initial screen, you need to make it as an initial view controller. This is the search navigator. You can easily look for pieces of text in your project. You'll find yourself using this a lot when you're looking for a specific property, method, or a variable and you cannot remember exactly where it is. It's one of my favorite Xcode shortcuts as well. Command Shift F and you can get started with searching. This is the Xcode issue navigator. So issue navigator shows you all the problems with your app when you build and compile your application to test. If there's any problem where Xcode cannot build your app, it will halt and show you the red colored errors in the issue navigator. So you can click on the error and you can get the detail about that error and it would help you to figure out what is failing. It will also show yellow warnings in the issue navigator, although resolving warnings is not necessary for building your application, but they are warning and they may be some potential issues as well. So this editor area is where we'll probably be spending most of our time, because this is where all the coding, configuration and user interface building happens. So the editor area changes depending on what files you have selected. If you have a Swift file selected, then it will show you the code editor like this. However, if you have a user interface like Storyboard selected, then it will change accordingly. So here you'll see a list of devices that you can run. So here you'll see a list of simulator. You can choose any device that you want and you can give schemes to your project. If you are running it in debug or production mode, you can make the configuration there. Using the shortcut command R, you can run the project and choose any devices which you want to see in the simulator. So this is how a simulator looks like. You can view the iOS version of it. You can take a screen grab from here, and this is the home icon. You can rotate these devices like this. So here I'm just trying to show you how the initial screen looks like. As we have not changed anything, this just shows a blank screen. Down here, this is the debugger area, so you can debug your code. This is the debug panel. So this panel allows us to see log messages from our app. So we'll get very familiar with this panel by time as we start writing more code and we want to see how the app is responding to it. So it's one of the greatest tool to get feedback on what your app is doing or what is not doing exactly. Through this video, I wanted to show a bird's eye view of how to use Xcode and working with navigators and inspector, how you can build the user interface and more about the interface builder. So we also saw how to run the app in simulator and how to run your iPhone application. Saying this, you have finished exploring the basics of Xcode. Now you can get started with learning Swift and some of the fundamental of Swift. So in the next video, I'll be talking more about the Swift language. Till then, happy learning!